26-year-old Matthew Donald Flores was a successful military officer starting a job at Applied Materials Inc. in the Silicon Valley with his wife of 4 years, Denise, and newborn daughter, Danielle. On March the 24th, 1994, on his 9th day at his job, he arrived at work at around 8:12 AM and parked his car, a white Chevy Corisco that his bosses had rented for him. He was then murdered, execution style, by an unknown party as he got out of his car and was found by a woman sitting in a car nearby. Amazingly, despite a total of 20 people in the parking lot at the time, not one person saw Matt's killer. Authorities found that Matt had no known enemies and no reason to have been killed. Police were at a standstill when they learned that his murder occurred in a security camera's blind spot. However, the camera did give the police their most significant lead. The footage shows an unidentified two-door Ford Explorer entering the parking lot 20 minutes before the shooting. A few seconds later, a two-door Ford Probe, similar to Matt's, was followed by the Ford Explorer. A few minutes later, the Explorer exited the parking lot. Then 3 minutes before the shooting, the Explorer re-entered the parking lot and went into the direction of where the shooting occurred. At 8:12 AM, 2 minutes before the shooting, Matt and the female eyewitness entered the parking lot. At 8:14 AM, the murder took place, just out of camera range. Approximately 20 seconds later, the Ford Explorer left the parking lot, never to be seen again. Investigators believe, based on the tape, that the driver of the Ford Explorer was stalking Matt that morning. They believe that he was a victim of mistaken identity and that the driver of the car was planning on killing a man driving the same type as his. The killer has never been identified and the case remains unsolved. A $100,000 reward is being offered in this case. The car that the police are looking for is a two-door sport model Ford Explorer manufactured between 1991 and 1994. It has a distinctive black trim on its lower panels. The colour is not black, white, dark green or dark blue. Investigators suspect that his murder may have been a case of mistaken identity. They have also looked into several theories, including that he was killed as a result of a road rage incident and that his death was related to his job. They looked into the possibility that his murder was related to the death of Sergeant Nicholas Gangi, who served under Matt while in the military. Gangi mysteriously vanished in April of 1993 and was later found dead under suspicious circumstances. However, no evidence has been found to substantiate these theories. Joseph Cole was the son of television actor Dennis Cole and the best friend of actor-musician Henry Rollins. Joseph Cole and Henry Rollins lived in a home in the predominantly black and Hispanic neighborhood of Oakwood within Venice Beach, California. The neighborhood was known as the Ghost Town portion of Venice and was notorious for crime and lack of safety. Henry and Joseph lived in the shady neighborhood because they planned to document the plight of homeless Vietnam veterans in the area. On December 19, 1991, Joe and Henry attended a rock music concert at the famous Whiskey A Go-Go nightclub in nearby West Hollywood and then stopped at an all-night market before they headed home. When the two arrived home, they were confronted by two armed intruders. One robber shoved Henry to his knees, while the other forced Joe to lay down on the ground. The gunmen told the two not to scream, or they would be killed. As the terrified men were on the ground, the robbers took what little money the friends had, which was less than $50. The gunmen were angered at the lack of money that Joe and Henry had, so they demanded that the two friends get money from their house and give it to them. The gunmen allowed Henry to enter the house, but shot Joe point blank outside. They also shot at Henry once his back was turned, but they missed. Then they fled on foot into the night. Henry knew they had fled, so he quickly called the police. Then he went outside and he discovered his friend Joe with a single gunshot wound to his head. By the time the police arrived, the gunman had vanished, and Joe had died as a result of the shooting. Despite interviews with hundreds of people in the area, the killers are still on the loose over 20 years later. Investigators believe the killers might still live in the Oakwood area of Venice Beach even after all these years. There's still a $25,000 reward available for the capture of the killers. Both suspects are African American males who are in their 40s or 50s today and were in their 20s or 30s at the time of the shooting in 1991. One of the killers is approximately 5'11" and 165 pounds with black hair and brown eyes. Sadly, Dennis Cole passed away in November 2009 at the age of 69 without learning of any new details to the case. However, according to unconfirmed reports, a man resembling Joe's killer has been spotted but never identified. Larry Costine was a rancher who owned a stretch of land near Lakeland, Florida, handed down over several generations. He lived with his uncle Earlo on the ranch and later started seeing Melissa Jo Sermons before his divorce to his wife was finalised, keeping the relationship secret for the time. Melissa's ex-boyfriend also worked for Earlo, and by all accounts he was not taking the breakup well. Melissa's mother claimed that the ex-boyfriend had been stalking Melissa and her sisters. On May 2nd, 1992, Larry and Melissa were in Dade City, Florida, the weekly rodeo. Larry and his partner won the team roping competition and split a $350 prize. The rodeo finished late that night at around 2 AM. Larry and Melissa went out to have breakfast with a friend. The friend was dropped off at 4 AM. Authorities believe that the two arrived at Larry's trailer at around 4:15 AM. No one is certain as to what happened next. On May 3rd, Melissa's family contacted Earlo after she did not return home. The next morning, with no sign of either Melissa or Larry, Earlo decided to go to Larry's trailer. Earlo called the sheriff after seeing no activity in the trailer. Earlo and a deputy entered the trailer and found Larry's nude body on his bedroom floor. He had been shot 4 times in the head with a handgun. Authorities found no evidence of forced entry or a struggle. However, one of Larry's guns were missing. Initially, authorities focused on Melissa's ex-boyfriend. However, he claimed to have an alibi on the morning of the murder. Authorities then focused on Melissa being responsible. However, neither Earlo nor Melissa's family could believe this. Earlo believes that someone followed the couple to Larry's trailer and killed him. He believes that the individual then abducted Melissa and killed her elsewhere. Authorities believe that Melissa was the only person that could have gotten close enough to Larry to kill him without a struggle. Larry's ex-wife Donna believes that Melissa and Larry got into an argument and that Melissa then killed him. Authorities, however, are uncertain if she was directly responsible for the murder or if she witnessed the crime and then fled. Melissa's family is convinced that her ex-boyfriend killed Larry and later killed Melissa as well. Police believe Melissa Jo Sermons to be the only person who could have gotten close enough to actually kill Larry. She had been seen several times since the murder, particularly in Florida, Texas and Kansas, possibly working as a truck driver. Larry's father believes that she has snuck home several times to visit her mother and sisters. However, her supporters believe that Melissa was abducted and murdered, and that Melissa's ex-boyfriend was involved.